I make a video on two countries that I've never visited before. Is Canada and the United Kingdom. I suppose I could also, you know, discuss other countries. I'm going to discuss the two English-speaking countries, which is Canada and the thing is, um, a lot of people don't understand that these countries they speak English, but their culture is very different from, say, the United States. But even then, you know, the United States of America, it's just a lot of people can't seem to understand that, you know, let's say one were to visit these countries, one of these two countries or both, for a little bit, like months, maybe even a year. And I mean, I have the realization that a lot of people they uh they have a lot of the problems they have back in the states tend to be very similar or not the same exact problem they have, you know, abroad. And just like I'm not sure what the problem is, but perhaps a fair remedy is that it's a different culture. The politics are different. The city names, the placement of the city names are very different. Um, but oftentimes the similar type of problem emerges. And it's like the difficult part is identifying what the problem is. You know, sometimes it's very complex. You cannot, put it to words. It's just, it's just often, often people just, you know, they spend a lot of money on these things. And oftentimes they just pretend that a certain problem doesn't exist because, you know, they may have a, have a hunch that something is. Again, it's a different country. Some people speak with different accents when they're visiting this new country. There's a lot of things to distract them from the, you know, from various problems they, for the most part, they just, there's a lot of different things to explore. Um, you know, United Kingdom or Canada. Canada and the United Kingdom are very different from each other. The politics are different. Um, the Canada is um, north of the United States, and United Kingdom is in Europe, and it's an island. So it's very different, and the history is very different. There's a lot of different things to distract you. One person from the original problem. And what is the original problem is different for each person, right? Each person that you know has an extended stay on this, one of these two countries, you know, their problems are very different. Um, let's say that every problem can be remedied by reading a certain book. No, that doesn't really fix the problem at all. It is different for each individual. That is, it's different for each person that visits their. You it's not like they're always. It's not like they're staying there wherever they are, apartment or house or whatever. Um, it, some of them actually are. There are some people who travel and have very they have a very different way of traveling. So, which is unique and actually can be very much beneficial in many ways. It's just different. Um, Perhaps they get to meet a lot of people that way. But again, the same type of a problem arises. It's like the hard part is identifying what it is. The advantage is, you know, if you're from the United States, that these two countries, both English is the predominant language. So the cultural barrier is the big one. And because it's the big one, it's uh, oftentimes people struggle not necessarily with the culture itself, but perhaps they refuse to acknowledge what their original problem is, which is why they left the states, right? And because they left the states, and it shows many reasons to for these countries, like perhaps a reason is that learning a language can be difficult. It is. It's a lot of effort. Which is why they did not visit. Which is why they didn't visit Mexico or like Africa or Asia, right? So there's plenty of Asian countries. I'm Asian myself, so I'm sure that they had a reason to not visit those countries. So because of that, um, they had a reason to. I'm sure they did a lot of research before they made a decision not to go to those countries. And of course, there's other logistical issues like not being able to acquire a visa to those countries, which is totally reasonable. Perhaps they can only acquire a visa to what is it, Canada or EU. It's totally reasonable. And of course, there are plenty of cases where they actually of folks who actually just had a choice and they had the ability to make visas in the other country, but they chose not. I'm not going to be discussing those cases because um, let's just say I can't really understand those cases. So I'm not really qualified to discuss those cases because there's all of these logistical things from travel agents to passports to a bunch of concepts. It's very advanced and um, really not relevant to the discussion in most cases. It's just um, the thing is that I have made the observation that a certain type of person visits Canada and a certain type of person visits the United Kingdom for an extended period of time. They tend to visit them because even out of ignorance of certain things. So they visit Canada, for example, because um, no, they didn't visit Canada because they liked Justin Trudeau. It just yeah, they actually thought that they did not like this person, right? But it turns out I've seen a lot of cases where it's the exact opposite. They actually ended up liking Justin Trudeau very much. And for England, they tend to really like Boris Johnson, and um, the year after that was Liz Truss, and the year after that was Rishi Sunak. So, they somehow ended up really liking those types of people, which is counterproductive because if they really like those people, then they should have visited the other countries instead. Not, of course, these mistakes happen all the time, right? It's just like, I mean, if one visits Canada and they end up liking Justin Trudeau, then why were they there, right? They were there because they made a mistake, right? So, mistakes are, it's still beneficial to the industry, the economy, the you know, such and such. Very, someone's got to make money, right? So, so why don't I just discuss what Canada is, even though I've never visited? I have the sense that Canada should be, like the they're very they're very much like the Democratic Party in the United States. They legalize marijuana. England, for the most part, hasn't. In terms of it's not really a thing there, even though in terms of that doesn't really explain the politics, so the difference between the politics. That's something I can't really discuss. Not really qualified. It's just Yeah, but that's a common problem I see among people who, now, for exchange student, that's a completely different topic.